And then I know that there are a lot of other big companies that have similar programs like Google, Genentech, Facebook, where they have shuttle operators and bike programs and carpool programs. So there are a lot of companies that are starting to put this initiative forward, and there's a lot of career opportunities. And I think that I'll wrap up there and pass it on to the next panelist.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks, Kristen and Carolina, for inviting me. Thanks for being here, everyone. As Kristen said, my name is Musa Si, and I'm a risk engineer. I work for a company called Per Se, is a power energy risk. And what we do pretty much, we are an insurance company that insure almost all the big projects in the US and sometimes outside of the country as well. And it goes from wind turbines to like a single wind turbine to like a whole wind farm, and to solar farms, to battery sites. And now we're actually taking initiatives into ensuring green hydrogen as well. But my company primarily is an underwriting company, and what they do, they underwrite every code for the terms to ensure there's any project. And we work very closely with brokers to ensure this project. But let me go back a little bit. I started my career, actually, I moved here from Mali when I was 16 years old, came here to play basketball, and I went to a boarding school. And fortunately for me, I had a chance to meet some of, how do you say that? Like some of the people that were very engaged in terms of sustainability when I was in high school. And from that point on, I went to Humboldt State, where I spent my first 3 years there, studying environmental science, primary renewable energy. And then I transferred in 2017 to San Jose State to finish my career, where I got my bachelor in environmental science. Then I went to Syracuse University, where I got a scholarship to go study sustainable battery system. And I got a chance to work in a lab making battery system, calcium ion batteries. And then last year, I got my master in chemical engineering there, and then I got this job. So let me talk a little bit about what we do. So as a risk engineer, my job is to review every single project we receive from the underwriters, and which can go from the geotechnical aspect of a project, the environmental aspect of a project, the hydrology aspect of a project, the climate, weather monitoring system, all of those stuff. And I also get a chance to go to a solar farm, wind farm, battery site, and to assess and do inspection to these facilities to make sure they are in alignment with what we tell them. And then what else can I say? Our daily basic stuff can go from like reviewing a project to going to we do virtual inspection as well, where we contact different solar farm where we can do the project like that. And then we basically do, I don't know how to describe what we do pretty much. It's kind of complicated because when I was out of college, I had no idea there was a job called risk engineer. To me, I didn't even know like there was some insurance company that insure projects. And so for last 9 months, I've been going through a very rigorous training where I got the chance to, travel almost every 2 weeks. And part of my job as a risk engineer, I get to spend like half of my time in the office and the other half of my time outside of the office, where I travel throughout the country and basically get to see every single technology available out there in the first hand and get to analyze it, get to see which is the best technology and which one is not, and what we can do to improve the technology aspect of it, and what we can tell our companies, like what type of technology they can get depending on the location of a project. So that's pretty much what I do. Yeah.
All right, thank you for sharing. Up next, we have Brock Hill. Hi, thanks so much for having me. My name is Brock Hill with Premier Recycle Company. We're a construction and demolition material recycling company based in San Jose. We have operations, dumpster operations at construction sites all the way up to San Francisco, Walnut Creek, all the way south of San Jose. So we're all over the Bay Area. And what we do is we bring the material back to our facility in San Jose, sort everything we can out that is recyclable, and recycle what we can. We're a lot different than other companies you see out there, like the Waste Managements, the Republics, where we're solely focused on construction sustainability and making sure the success happens on the construction site versus just our own sorting facility. So we're helping our customers understand what's recyclable, what's not, how to make it recyclable, and really leading to their success on the job site forward rather than trying to catch up from behind. How I got into this, I studied at University of California, Irvine, got a political science degree. Most of the people I studied with either wanted to go to law school or they were going to grad school to do something in politics. I didn't want to do either of those, but I really enjoyed studying politics and political theory. I was actually in the Marine Corps officer program at the time when I was at UC Irvine. Went to officer candidate school, found out I was colorblind, and that really changed my life at that point. So I ended up working for Target Corporation in Southern California for about a year. And what I was doing was logistics and hard lines for the stores. So I went to a couple different stores in Southern California, quickly figured out that large corporate environments were not for me. And I was looking for other opportunities. I got a phone call from Premier. At the time, I was looking for other things, and they said, hey, would you want to come up here and help out our operations and help modernize the company? So well, what does that mean? And they said, we don't really know. That's why we're reaching out to somebody like you to come and help us. So packed up my apartment and I was up to San Jose. And my first position here was in the break room, and had a little desk and just a couple papers. And from there, it kind of took a trajectory of finding out what processes we could fix in the company, how to make this a more streamlined operation, and what weren't we doing in the field that our customer or that our competitors weren't either. How can we provide this niche? Because our competition really is the big guys. It's the Republic Services, it's Waste Management, it's everybody else you've seen driving trucks around the Bay Area. How do we make our little company stand out? And from that point on, we've grown to about 4 to 5 times the size that we were when I started in 2008. What does my day-to-day look like? It could be anything. It could be going out to Google projects, Apple projects, doing site tours, coming back to the company, running the company, or hey, trucks broke down over here. So it's constantly, my day is never the same, and that's what I really enjoy about this. As far as the green career, I never really saw this as a green career, but it really turned into that. Looking at how to be a change in the industry from a different perspective that nobody else was seeing. I really enjoyed bringing that. And I think we've made a lot of good progress on the national scene. Being such a small company in San Jose, we've really had a national effect in helping change policy and views on how a lot of the recycling field actually works. So that's me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So next we have Kristen Lee.
Awesome. Hi, thanks so much for having me. I so appreciate the invite. So I'm Kristen Lee. I'm the Sustainability Manager with LifeWorks Restaurant Group for Nike Food Services at the World Headquarters campus in Beaverton, Oregon. So within my role, I do strategy and planning, program and project management. We run engagement programs for our hourly staff, do leadership trainings. So really at the core of what I do, we are here as food service to help Nike reach their move to zero. And the move to zero is Nike's journey towards zero waste and zero carbon to protect the future of sport. So we operate dozens of food outlets at the WHQ campus. It's kind of like a college campus, a non-residential college campus. So I'm working with operators of those restaurants on campus. We're trying to minimize food waste. We're looking at packaging, trying to get to zero waste by 2025. So it's very dynamic. I get to work with tons of different people. And yeah, kind of like Brock said, I think that there's so many opportunities for the work that we do in our day-to-day to really ripple out across the industry. And that's one of the reasons that I was excited to take this job. I work for LifeWorks Restaurant Group, but our parent company is Aramark. So when Aramark does things, when Nike does things, other people pay attention, and there's an opportunity to create an industry standard or really, push the envelope, which is what makes my role really, really exciting. And in terms of how I got here, so I went to Dickinson College as an undergrad, small liberal arts college in like small rural South Central Pennsylvania. And I ended up getting a job in the sustainability office there. And I didn't know that you could be a sustainability manager. I didn't know that role existed, but I was an environmental studies major, and yeah, I took that internship, and it just kind of cascaded from there. So if you had asked me, to look back and in 10 years ago, if I thought that I would be a sustainability manager, I would have told you probably not. So I decided after getting my degree in environmental studies that I was going to do the policy route, because top-down policy was what was going to make our environmental problems better. So I went to policy school at the University of Texas at Austin, and from there worked in some small consulting outfits and local government before deciding that neither of those things were for me. I ended up just by happenstance, kind of continuing to get jobs in sustainability and higher education after my graduate assistantship at the University of Texas Campus Environmental Center. And yeah, then I just kind of fell into sustainability in higher ed, which is how I met Kristen, how I met other Kristen. So I worked at the University of Texas, like I said, at Florida State University, managing gardens, their recycle bike program, tailgate recycling for their 86,000 person stadium. And then I ended up getting a job at University of California, Santa Cruz, where I worked for 5 years, mostly on zero waste student leadership engagement programs. And I made the transition to the private sector here a year ago today, actually. So it's my 1-year anniversary of being out of higher ed.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much for that. And I was clapping for not being out of higher ed, but for happy anniversary. All right, that was awesome. Thank you all so much. And we're going to jump into the Q&A now. So if you have any specific questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. And we have some questions that students submitted beforehand. So we'll get started with those. Okay, and this is open to any of you four. Do you have any advice or tips that you would like to give students searching for jobs, internships, given the current health economic climate that we're currently in and have been in for a while?
I'll take it. I don't think that there has been a better time ever to try and get into our industry. In terms of the specific point of the question here, the current health crisis, I have maybe a different approach on this one than most people, because I never got to work at home. I didn't have a remote job. I've never worked remote in my life, because we still had a company to run, and we were still trying to recycle throughout the pandemic. And so my daily life didn't change. So when I needed people, I was scrambling to try and find good people, and they just weren't there. So if people would have reached out to me and said, hey, what can I do? Can I work? Can I just learn from you at this point in time? we gladly would have taken them. And so I think right now specifically is still the best time I think I've ever seen in my career.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. I think that I graduated right into the recession, and it was not a great time to look for a sustainability job or try to get placed just out of undergrad with no experience. I, having worked in higher ed, I have a number of former students, and there are people getting jobs left and right. There are more jobs on every job board that I've seen. People can't even keep up with the number of jobs. I think in terms of applying to jobs, landing jobs, I think having a passion for sustainability obviously is the most important piece. Like Kristen said, you don't have to be an environmental science or environmental studies major to be able to demonstrate that passion. So I think first it's like figuring out like what exactly are your skills and what exactly is the impact that you'd like to make, and kind of trying to get more specific on that. And then beyond that, I would say subscribe to job boards if you're interested in the work that some of the folks on this call are doing in higher ed. Definitely subscribe to the ASHE bulletin. We can drop all those things in the chat. The Green Jobs Network has great listings. If you're interested in clean energy, Ed Carley has a great listserv that comes out every week. So I would say if you're looking for a job, even just entry level, there are tons of them. Definitely utilize your network, because that is very helpful. And asking for help is always really good when you're looking to kind of expand your network.
I think I will have to agree with that as well. And from my perspective, I think going to job fair might be very helpful. Like I've always been to like almost every single job fair on campus when I was in school. And I think right now, especially for my company, we were never closed in terms of COVID. When I joined the company last year, they were still going to the office, even though our parent company was telling people to pretty much work remotely. But our side of the company, we're still working, we're doing both. Right, it depends. So a lot of companies I know right now are still hiring, if not even more. And even though my company, for example, is an underwriting company, so you will never associate an underwriting company to very much sustainability at all. But in hindsight, there is a lot of position available for people like risk manager that are looking for like people working as a risk manager in sustainable energy project in a lot of companies. So there's a lot of job available out there. You just have to look for it, and you have to don't hesitate to ask for help. Talk to your professors. They know people, right? You gotta always bug them. Like I'm a bugger. I always try to find a job. Even when I went to San Jose State, right? I was always looking for internships, and I think if you are active and also plan things ahead, right? Trying to be a planner, trying to be someone who's like 6 to a year ahead of everyone else, right? The reason I got my scholarship to go to Syracuse, it was fully paid for it from San Jose State. I was always looking for an opportunity. And even though it was harder to transition for environmental science or studies to chemical engineering, I was at least open to it, right? To the transition. And luckily it worked out for me. I went there and I worked in a lab with a professor who was more sustainable minded person and who was trying to work in a lab to bring a better battery system than lithium ion battery system we have right now. So I think being active, being persistent, and going to job fairs actually can be very helpful in terms of finding internships. There's a lot of people looking for people. So
I just want to echo what everyone else is saying. I think definitely during your time here, your 4 years, or if you're in the master's program, looking at different jobs out there and seeing what you're interested in so that you have a good grasp when you're getting ready to move to a full-time position. I will say for TDM specifically, I think it's a little bit more niche in terms of job opportunities. I only say this because, we were looking for a commute coordinator for a long time and just searching different opportunities out there. We didn't really find as many. I think it's because it's hard to kind of find someone that has all of the things that you need. So I think really looking at what you want to do, getting different experiences, and kind of learning what that job will take will be really great for you in the future.
That was great advice from all of you. And I echo what everyone says. And I just want to touch real quick on something that Brock said, that if someone would have reached out to him and said like, hey, you know, how can I help? Can I have a job? It can be so powerful. My brother, who I live with, became paralyzed 2 years ago, and everything he ever did before for his job was on his feet. And now he's trying to figure out what he can do. And there's a fire station across the street, and he used to be a wildfire fighter. So he's going over there this weekend to just say, hey, is there anything I can do around the station? And that's a great, you know, opportunity and example of how you can get your foot in the door if you can't get a job somewhere. Okay, let's move on to.
Do you mind if I add one thing to that?
Yeah, and I want to add one thing after Brock.
So I cannot stress this enough. For anybody looking for a job, do not write off small business, because that is the majority of the United States. And I know here in Silicon Valley, everyone wants to work for Google. Everyone wants to work for you name it. But like Kristen just said, seriously, if somebody had just walked in and they had a great attitude and just wanted to learn, absolutely. When can you start? So don't write that off. I met a truck driver the other day. He was 22 years old. And I said, you know, how did you get into this? And he said, you know, I got my license. This is not what I'm going to do forever, but I'm doing this to put myself through engineering school. And he's making $150,000 a year at 22, putting himself through school. So those type of jobs, although you wouldn't think a truck driver is related to sustainability, well, we have 22 of them, you know, doing a lot of our work. So we are a sustainable company, but yet those positions still exist. Somebody needs to do them. And it's a fantastic opportunity for young people that shouldn't be overlooked.
Yeah, I'll just follow up on that by saying, I think reaching out to people, I've gotten tons of folks that reach out via LinkedIn and are just like, hey, I have this question, or I saw that you had a job posted. Can you talk to me? And I think one of the things that I've found is that if you let yourself ask for help, you will be surprised by how gracious people are. So I would encourage you to use your network. This like job hunting and the whole thing is kind of a team effort in my experience and the students that I've worked with. So don't try to do it all by yourself. And yeah, I think just, putting yourself out there, not being afraid to ask for help, reaching out to strangers, reaching out to your professors, utilizing your network, I think are all super important things.
I just have one thing to add. For those of you that are in undergrad that are looking at potentially getting your master's in something related to this field, the best advice I ever got was when I was in my undergrad at one of my business classes. We had someone come in and talk to us, and they said, go find a company that will pay for your degree to get your master's program. So I think that's really important. There are jobs out there that will provide you tuition reimbursements for you to continue your education. So that's one of the biggest things that I would recommend, and something that really stuck with me.
I can also add on that as well. I think there is, okay, here's the thing, right? So this is a backstory. So when I went to Syracuse for my first year, we had a professor that came from University of Pittsburgh, and it was recruiting student, undergraduate student, pretty much to go to University of Pittsburgh for the engineering department. And we assist him, during his interview with the kids. And one thing he mentioned was really mind blowing to me. Like, their department alone had $1 million sitting there to give it to student. But guess how many people applied for it? 0. They had 0 applicants the previous year for $1 million sitting in school just to give it to anyone. And this is a $50,000 school to go to, fully funded with stipend, which is like $2,000 a month, that nobody applied for it. And from my perspective, the way I got my scholarship was through this guy that I used to work at the cafe at the library, and this guy used to come every day to get, actually used to like blueberry, he liked blueberry muffin. He used to come every single day, get 2 blueberry muffin. I remember like yesterday. And I always knew he was homeless, but even though he never mentioned it, he would come get it, and we become friends. And he asked me what I was studying. And I told him I was studying environmental science here, mainly focused on sustainable energies. That's what I wanted to do because I knew I wanted to do that 5 years prior to that. That's all I wanted to do. And he mentioned this fellowship to me. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't think this is going to work out, right? We went over it for 5 months. This guy kept bugging me to just apply to the fellowship. And I was like, dude, I don't think it's going to work out. I'm not a citizen. This is just for citizens. So the fellowship is called GEM Fellowship. If anyone is interested that is a minority student, just let me know. I can, give you all the information. But it's called GEM Fellowship. It's for minority students. Pretty much, they offer, they work with almost every single school in the country, whether Stanford, Boston College, whatever school you can name it. And once you get accepted to the program, the school are willing to give you full ride because they wanted to increase the minority and diversity in the program. So I wasn't a citizen. So I told the guy that, he was like, don't worry about it. Once you go through the system and when they find out about it, you're gonna tell them that. And then every single thing he told me, that's what happened, right? I went through the system to this day. They didn't even know I was a citizen. And I got accepted to 5 schools, all offering me scholarships. And I got into PhD programs. Then I made the best decision for myself when I went to school for free. I got stipend for 2 years. So things like that, right? You gotta look for it. You gotta just take risk and also go for things that you really want to. That's my advice for everyone. So, but yeah. But there are a lot of schools out there, especially in the East Coast, that are willing to offer you full ride. Company also pay for it. A lot of companies are willing to pay for your, what is MBA or whatever it is. So look for those stuff out there.
Thank you for sharing that story. So that's a good segue into a question we got from the chat, which is, I'm looking to apply for a master's program for environmental sciences. How highly, if at all, would you encourage or recommend pursuing a master's degree if I want to work in sustainability and the environment?
I just dropped some thoughts in the chat. So I think, master's programs can be really great, but I think I would ask Anna, what their goal is for afterward. Like, what is the purpose? Are you really interested in research? There's a difference. I would definitely differentiate between academic master's programs and professional master's programs. Like, I think Tiffany's advice was really great. Can you get an employer to pay for it after having worked there for 6 months or a year? Are you able to TA? I think it's a really personal decision in terms of money. Like, are you going to take on $150,000 worth of debt? What is your expected salary afterward? So I think there are a lot of things to weigh there, but I would definitely kind of decide on the academic versus professional track and really try to find a professor who's an advocate for you that you can work under and make sure that you have opportunities to be a grad assistant or a TA to be able to kind of like balance the books there.
I think, yes, 100%. And then to add to that as well, make sure if you know at your junior year that you want to do your master, to start reaching out to professors around different campuses, right? Reach out to professors, send them email. That's what I did. Send them a bunch of emails, go to the program, look at the different professors, like look at what background do you want to have, right? There's so many masters out there, right? You got to pick what is best for you. And I think by doing so a year early, again, like this go back to what I was saying earlier, right? Being ahead of everyone, plan 1 year ahead, right? While you're doing your internship, also look at different colleges. And then also my advice to everyone who wants to do master, like Kristen just explained it, right? Do you want to do academia or do you just want to get your master to get after 2 years? Both tied together. It's best to even apply for PhD now from undergrad, right? The reason why applying to PhD is better than just applying to master is, one, a lot of professors are looking for a PhD student. Two, if you get into a PhD, your school is paying for it, you get stipend. And three, after 2 years of your master, you can walk away with your master and telling your professor you don't feel like doing your academic studies anymore, that 2 years is enough for you, then your school is paying for it, you got stipend in your last 2 years. But if you just apply straight to master program, it's very, very unlikely you're gonna get a lot of funding because they're expensive, $100,000, $150,000 a year. But by applying to a PhD program, it allows you to get better look from a professor, because professor want student that they prefer having a PhD student than a master student. And now, before it used to be like, you got to do your master and get your PhD. No, no, no. Now you can go from your bachelor now to PhD straight, where you start for classes for, first 2 years. Then after that, you can just do 3 years of research. So I think it's better to first look at professors, reach out to the professors, talk to them, bug them again. You bug your professor, bug everybody. Then decide to apply for the PhD. Then if you want to do academia, PhD is easier. You go straight to your 5 years and you get fully funded since day one. So, well, yeah.
I would first tell somebody to really, really look deep and hard about why they want to go to grad school, because it is very expensive. And what are you getting out of it? Is it to go the academic route? Sure, that's totally fine. And Musa explained that well. But if it's purely just to put something on your resume, I would highly encourage some hesitation on that. Really go out and talk to somebody who has that degree that you're looking for, that's working out in the workplace, and go talk to them. Was it worth it? What did you get out of it? And if somebody does end up going that route, make sure that you're making the connections while you're there. Go to every single thing you possibly can and meet the right people, because the degree alone is not going to get you the job. It's the people that you know. But make sure that money is worth it if you're going to do it.
Yeah, and to tag on to what Brock said, when I was in college and still, I use LinkedIn as a tool to look at people who are doing really, really cool things in the world. And then I look back and see how they got there, and look what jobs, what internships, if they got their master's degree. Because I thought for a long time I wanted to get a master's degree, and I'm really bad at school. So, and it wasn't, I wanted it just to put it on paper because I thought I needed it. And also, everyone, and Brock and Chris, everyone keeps bringing up connections. It is so critical. I mean, that's how Brock and Kristen, both of them, I saw Brock speak and I thought he was an incredible speaker that really talked about, the pitfalls and brought transparency to, the recycling industry, and then added him on LinkedIn and have kept that connection. And that's why he's here today. And same with Kristen. I saw her energy from like across the conference and was like, I want to be friends with that girl. And, added her on LinkedIn. And so when you make those connections, add them on LinkedIn right away, send a personal message, and you never know what job it could lead you to. Okay, another question from the chat that I think can be expanded on is, how do you define the job is a match for your major? For instance, I'm in the major of data analytics. If part of the job description is to use data analytics to help support marketing departments in analyzing consumer data, is it a match to my major? And does anyone want to take that? And I think, yeah, does anything come up for anyone on that one?
I can speak on that a little bit. I think, okay, here's the thing, right? When I was at San Jose, I would have never thought that chemical engineering was related to environmental science or any way, any shape or form, right? I had no idea that they were related until I got to, Syracuse, where I realized that, wait a minute, it makes sense. Solar panels, right? They're made by what? Chemical engineers are making solar panels, right? Process engineers are making this stuff. And you also have like a battery are made what? In chemical engineering labs, right? To make all of this stuff. But while I was in my undergrad, I had no idea those were connected, right? And until I got there, I was like, wait a minute, this is actually what I really wanted to do. And that's one. Two is also the solar farm and the wind farm that I get to go see. They have a lot of engineers there, right? Software engineers that have to monitor these panels, right, from distance, or like how to turn the turbine and stuff like that. So there's so many other aspects that is related to it. You just have to research and see like what you really wanted to do exactly. And that can also go back to the connection part, right? You got to go on LinkedIn, look at research people, look at different companies, what they do. Because as of right now, I think every single companies have sustainability managers now, right? They have every single company. There's no single company out there right now that is not trying to get something sustainable in terms of sustainable energy. So I think data analytics is so much related to environmental science that there's so many jobs related to that. You just have to pretty much, you can just do, little search online, to see what is the connection. Be very easy, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to follow up on what Musa said. I think if you're looking for a job, I feel like when I graduated undergrad and when I graduated grad school, like I would scour these job sites, and if I didn't match every single requirement on that job, I wouldn't apply. So I think this is definitely something that kind of afflicts folks who are cultured as women more. But I would say if you meet 70% of the requirements on a job posting, apply. Like I kind of, from that question, I think if it's something that you like to do, if it's a skill set of yours, if it's a company that you want to work for and aligns with your values, and you meet the majority of the requirements, even if it's like a little bit outside what you thought that you would do, I would say go for it.
I would also say that even if you don't feel that you're in a major that is related to sustainability or per se related, like that still shouldn't hold you back, because I was a finance major and I had no idea that I would get into this field. So I think, Brock, you mentioned the continuous learning, even outside formal education, like as long as that's really important, is learning about what's going on in the industry, learning about what's going on in the field that you're looking to that you want to work in. And even if your major isn't related, if you learn about that, you can get that job. So I just wanted to mention that, because I think that's really important for you to know as well. Because, if you think like, oh, I need to change my major if I want to get into this field, and then that's going to add on time and money to graduate, like, just don't think that that's what you have to do to get into that field or industry.
Yeah, and also like for my field, like the underwriting field, like no one study underwriter. Like there's no school for, like, now there's more like school that do like risk manager now. A lot of schools have that, but a lot of people in insurance, in terms of renewable insurance, they just have like a liberal art majors. No one really, beside me, like in my company, I'm the only one who went to school that study environmental science, that study renewable energy to what I am today, and as a risk engineers, I am so happy of my choice, because every risk engineer in my field come from traditional power, meaning like coal, petroleum, all of those stuff, right? None of them started as a renewable energy specialist like I did, because 10 years ago, there was no risk engineer position. So most of these people transition from traditional power to renewable energy now. So there's a lot of position available. There's a lot of company looking for people. So you don't have to do the same major to work in that field. If you really want to do sustainable stuff, you don't have to have that specific background for sure.
So I've hired 3 people from San Jose State, 2 environmental science majors and 1 MIS major. And the MIS one was confusing to some of the people around here. They said, well, why do we need an information science business analytics person? I said, look, we've got 20 years of data that we've been tracking for our job sites. We could do something with this. We could get to the point with all of our data and the tracking that we've done to be able to predict on the job sites how their performance will be and better help them achieve those goals. And so when you think of how do I study for that? Well, you can't, because we're making it up as we go. So as long as you have the right attitude for that, the skill set is second to the attitude. If you've got the vision and the work ethic to actually make it happen, you can.
Yeah, and I just added into the chat. I think there are so many opportunities on campus. I mean, so many people on this panel were involved at San Jose State. So it's like, check out the campus job boards. Are there opportunities in food service? Are there opportunities in transportation services like Tiffany? Is there an opportunity within the sustainability office? In the 5 years that I worked at UC Santa Cruz, I hired probably a majority of students who are not ENVS majors. And I think finding a way that you can find that connection to sustainability and your major, that's the sweet spot. And I think kind of like Brock was saying, that is what can help differentiate you and get you into that niche.
And to back up on something that both Kristen and Brock brought up is about job applications and meeting all the criteria and your attitude. When I hire interns as well, I hire for passion, because skills can be taught very easily. But if you're passionate and you want to be there, you're going to get hired. Personal opinion, but you're going to get hired over somebody with more skills than you, that meets more of what's on that job application. And so, just like Kristen, I also, if I saw one thing that didn't relate to me, I wouldn't apply. And there are so many people who apply who just meet one thing and don't meet the rest of them. So every single interview, if you can get an interview, is such a great opportunity to learn how to interview better. Okay, next question. And we have about 12 minutes left, so we'll hit maybe 1 or 2 more questions. I know that Kristen has to hop off a few minutes, or Kristen Lee, we have 3 Kristens today, has to hop off a few minutes early, and then we put it in the chat. But if you all want to stay afterwards, from 1 to 1:15, we have Career Center advice from Kristen Keller. Okay, so next question. Can having too much education hurt your opportunities to get a job? Too much education.
No.
No. I mean, it depends like how much money you're looking for. Like, that's why you gotta be careful also with PhD and master, right? A PhD person doesn't necessarily make as much as a master, right? So no, not really at all. I like school. I wish I can go back to school again, right? I'm actually go back to get my MBA, right? Even though I have my master now, but because I want to have higher position in my company. I want to be a CEO of a company. So I feel like having an MBA might be beneficial for me, having a master degree in chemical engineering, but no, not at all. It depends what you want to do, and for a lot of engineers in the chat right now, if you're an engineer, you got to also think about it. You don't need a master as an engineer. You really don't. You don't need a master at all. So yeah, no, that school doesn't really. If you like school, you like school.
But it also depends on what you define as education, whether that's formal or, call it self-taught education. I mean, any subject you ever want to know, there's a book on it. It's on the internet. If you've got the ethic to research it on your own and find the right people in that industry and ask the right questions, you can achieve any sort of education you could possibly imagine. It's all up to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be school. For some people it does, but the information's out there. You just have to find the right people.
I also want to emphasize, other than focusing just on education, I think the important skills are focused on are, like Brock mentioned, like your work ethic, making sure that you're showing up on time, making sure that you're always asking, like, what more can you do? So that when you're building these relationships and you want to look for other opportunities, it really won't matter about the education. People will want to hire you because they'll be like, this person was going above and beyond. They did a wonderful job. They were a great person to work with. Those are the skills that are really important. Like that reputation for people to know that they can trust you and they want to work with you and you do a great job is what really is important for me when I'm looking for people to hire.
Okay, next question. What tips would you give people who have little to no prior job experience who want to get off the ground in finding careers? I think a lot of this has been touched on, but.
Call me.
Yeah, I message me on LinkedIn. I think my biggest tip, if you have little to no job experience, it's like we said before, like define your passion, understand what niche you want to get into, take care of the basic things, like Tiffany just said, show up on time, make sure that you're organized, keep your calendar, all that good stuff. And I think just in terms of like interviewing and job prep, like there have been jobs where I guarantee you there was a better candidate, a more educated, more qualified candidate than me. But I had made it my job to study every single aspect, like read the entire campus sustainability plan, read the water action plan, read the climate plan, researched all the people who were going to be on my interview committee. So there are things that you may not be like you can't control the competition. You can't control like the other people who are in your in like candidacy for the jobs that you want, but you can control how much you prep for that interview, how educated you are on the company, on your recruiter, on your hiring manager, those types of things. And I think that makes a big difference.
I want to echo that. It definitely does. The little things matter, making sure that your resume is pristine, making sure that you know the people you're going to be interviewing with, or even checking their LinkedIn. If they see that you're doing that research, that's going to show that you're motivated, that you actually care, that you're paying attention to the details. Sending a thank you note after you interview, all those little things really stand out.
I'd love to add into this as well. I'm with the Career Center and I'll chat with you guys later, but it's so wonderful to hear all these feedback and everything we've been teaching the students is obviously you guys are showing us it's very true. For the students saying that I don't really have any work experience, I would actually challenge you to talk with your teachers and talk with someone in career services, because you may not realize that unpaid work experience or even class projects, research papers you've been doing, maybe some kind of volunteer project you did with your fraternity, all these things can be on your resume and can demonstrate your interest in environmental studies. So if you need help sharing that story, come into the Career Center and we can help you with that.
Okay, and let's do one more. If you have a specific experience of where you wished that, do you have a specific experience that you wished you had done something differently? And if you were to do it over, what would you change? And feel free to turn that into kind of your last piece of advice, but take it away.
Well, I can go actually. I think I wish I had applied to more internships while I was in undergrad, even though I had few internships while I was in my undergrad, but I wish I had applied more, especially my sophomore year. Starting from my sophomore year, I just realized that summer I wasted for no reason. I could have been doing some internship on campus, whether it was on campus, whether it was outside of campus, just doing something that would have maybe prepared me better for my senior year. So I think not having to apply to as many internship position as possible, that could be something right now looking back at it, I wish I'd done more. So
yeah, I wish kind of similar. I wish I would have known to do the research about the different careers that I could have done. I came from a super small town, so I really had no idea that there were so many careers I could do. And I had already picked my major. So I think really just looking at the different options that you can get into and definitely doing the self-learning earlier on. I mean, I find myself looking at different articles, what's going on around in the transportation industry now as a manager, but I wish I would have done that a lot more when I was kind of early starting my career.
Yeah, I think mine would be that I wish that I had asked for more help. I was like determined to do it on my own. And I graduated, like I said, right into the recession, into a really tough economic time. And there were a lot of people who now, as someone who's supervised college students and has been, connected with students who are going through that, I think you have more people in your court than you think you do. It's just a question of kind of utilizing your resources and asking for help. So that would be my advice.
I wish that I would have stopped looking for the validation of other professionals in my industry, because you're just doing it the same way if you're looking for their validation. I wish I would have stopped doing that sooner.
Debbie, do you want to share?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm not on the panel, but I'm with the Office of Sustainability here at San Jose State. And I just wanted to share just a couple of tips. I agree with everyone here, especially about the masters. Like, I never thought I'd want a master's, mainly because number one, never saw myself wanting to teach. I feel like it's more important for those who want to continue in an academic career rather than a professional career. Or not, I mean, it's professional, of course, but like not academic. But now I've kind of started changing my mind on that. But it's definitely not important to have a master's if you want to get a career in sustainability. And number two, the one thing I would recommend to all students is attend conferences. They're free for students, if not deeply discounted for students. But number one, it gives you a really great chance to learn about what's relevant in the industry that you want to be in. But number two, which is everyone has said this, but it's very important for networking. Build those connections. You can start building them right now as a student. And just speaking from experience, going conferences as a student and a professional, everyone loves talking to students. Everybody loves talking to students. So go to those conferences, talk to as many people as you want. Definitely start out with, hey, I'm a student at SJSU. They love talking to you guys. And you might be really surprised that, they'll say, hey, we have an internship opening up, or we have entry-level positions opening up. But look up conferences, look up professional associations of the industry that you want to join. And there's always, again, students are almost always free or deeply discounted to join the organizations and to go to their conferences. So I would highly recommend you do that.
One last thing that I just want to mention, because I know we're giving a lot of information, and I even still feel this myself as a professional, is like, try not to overwhelm yourself with all the things you feel you need to do in order to be successful. I feel like there's so much information, like you got to do this, you got to do that, and you got to do this in order to be successful. So I think really trying to focus on your own mental health and, how do you work through that process so that you can not feel overwhelmed, and then also just working on building your confidence, because I feel like those go hand in hand. And, when you're starting to go into your professional career, it can be really scary and intimidating, but the more you build up your confidence and try to manage that stress, I think that is really key and helpful too.
Such great advice. Thank you all so much. We are getting close to 1, so we're going to wrap up. But again, just wrapping up with the first part of the panel, and anyone that has time and wants to stay around for the second part, we will be getting great advice from Kristen Keller from the Career Center. So thank you all so much. I want to end with some advice I got from a past teacher that says, success takes work. It takes patience. It takes meeting failure and turning that failure into a lesson. It takes planning and then replanning as life takes its twists and turns. You're not going to get where you want to go if you don't have a plan, but that plan needs to evolve and be more than just one plan. Have a short-term plan, build on the skills and knowledge that you have now. Have a medium-term plan, build on the abilities and skills you're currently working on and gaining as you realize your short-term goals. Have a long-term plan that's built on the fulfillment of your short and medium-term plans with those added skills that you're working on. You're going to need persistence, tenacity, and flexibility, all while keeping your eyes on the prize and being centered in yourself, feet on the ground, and aware of your potential and limitations. You're going to need the strength to turn losses into learning experiences rather than failures. Sometimes you're not going to have all the persistence, tenacity, strength, flexibility necessary, so you're going to need others. Nothing is achieved by ourselves alone. Even those who made it on their own relied upon the support of loving others. Build your network, nurture your network, and rely on your network to help you through the times you struggle to muster the fortitude to go on. But go on you must, you have great things to achieve. So all of you have great things to achieve. Thank you for joining us today. And we will transition into the panel or the second part, but thank you panelists for joining us.
Hi, everyone. So this is Kristen. It is so great to be here today, and I've really enjoyed listening to the panelists and all their wonderful advice, so valuable to our students. So thank you for your time. A big theme that we've been hearing today is this idea of you don't know what kind of jobs are out there until you really talk to different people. And so there's this idea of needing to kind of build your network and learn what other people are doing in the industry you want to get into. So I just wanted to do a quick demo with you guys of two different things. The first one, and hopefully I've got screen share access, Kristen. Let's see. Yep. Okay, great. So the first one is a resource that we offer through the Career Center. And it's called SJSU Squared. And this is a mentor platform. So when you are trying to learn about your field, one of the best basically tools is touching base with people who've recently graduated from San Jose State or maybe even graduated a while ago. So we have a platform of over 900 people that are there ready and waiting for you to email them or schedule a phone call to get good advice. So I want to just show you guys, you have free access to this. And this is our Career Center page, sjsu.edu/Career Center. And if you go into resources, you will see VMOC, or I'm sorry, SJSU Squared right here. VMOC's resumes, we do that too. And if you click in here, you will be brought to our platform where you can start doing some research in the quick connections section. And I did this a little earlier, and I sorted people by industry, and I found that there were quite a few that are involved in the environmental studies industry. So again, if you've learned anything today, you got to talk to more people in order to kind of learn your options. So you would go ahead and click on an industry experience.
And Kristen, I just want to add in that, when I was a student at San Jose State, I had no idea this existed, if it existed when I was a student, but it's something that I did not take advantage of. And once Kristen just recently showed me what she's showing you right now, I cannot believe I didn't take advantage of this earlier.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a best kept secret. I'm trying to get the word out. But you can see here that there's 23 people on the platform who are involved in all different areas of the environment. They have all different job roles, and you can click on them and learn more about what they do. And if you're interested in their profile, you could reach out to them via email, or you could also schedule a phone call with them. You can see this person is an environmental project manager, and we have people from all, new grads all the way to people who've been out for a long time. So use SJSU Squared. It is a wonderful resource. And the next thing I want to show you guys is we've been talking a lot about LinkedIn and how much that really opens up your opportunity to learn from other people. It doesn't matter what your major is. You can use LinkedIn to really build your network. So what I'm going to show with you in the next minute or two is I'm going to show you how to use the San Jose State Alumni Network to build a list of common companies that tend to hire San Jose State students, common job titles they tend to have. And if you can use that for research. If you'd like to take it a step further and actually reach out and try to build relationships with these people, come into the Career Center, shoot me an email. We can help you with that as well. But we're going to start by going to the San Jose State University page. And I want to note this demo I'm about to do is really cool. I want you to know you're not going to be able to do this unless you have, number one, a LinkedIn profile. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do need to have a LinkedIn profile. And number two, you need to have at least 10 San Jose State connections. And you could reach out to me and Kristen Wonder. You've already got
yeah,
two.
you can add me.
Yeah.
I saw one come through. You had 20 notifications. Now you have 21. Maybe someone added you.
So here is the San Jose State page, and you'll see there's an alumni section right here. And from there, that is a ton of alumni that we have literally living all over the world. So let's organize them by people who studied environmental studies. So we're going to use this search, or we're going to move over here until we see what they studied. We're going to add in environmental science. And now you can see there's 469 alumni. There's a caveat to this. There is a lot of really sharp current students that are already, just like you guys, who are already using this. So when you see that there's a bunch that are working at San Jose State, it doesn't mean they necessarily work with Kristen Wonder, but it might be that they're still working on their program. But if you scroll down here, I had told you guys, if you're curious, what are the main companies that, this is just based on LinkedIn, there's no, crazy legitimacy to this here, but who hires the most environmental studies graduates? And you've got a list right here. So if you've always wondered, where do people go after graduation? You've got City of San Jose, County of Santa Clara, Valley Water, Genentech, Google, Caltrans, and more. So that is just having that list is a really good start. You can also use the next one, and you can actually organize people by what they do within the environmental studies area. So maybe we would go ahead and look at people doing kind of like program management. And if you scroll down, you have this list of people, and you can do the same thing that you did when you were on the SJSU squared, is you can actually check out their profile and read through which companies they worked for in the past. Did they intern? Where did they intern? There's so much you can learn from our past students. And you can see here that this person actually has his master's in environmental science, did some Teach for America, did some teaching, but then worked into a environmental service specialist role in that department. So it's helpful to know that some of these roles actually exist. So that is just a really quick demonstration of how you can, broaden your network. And there's career counselors available here in the Career Center. Myself and my colleagues are available via Zoom and in-person meetings. And we talk to you guys about everything from how to network, how to build your LinkedIn profile, how to, create a really great resume that's going to get you some attention, job and internship search strategies. And I'm even going to put in the chat, being able to market yourself with a strong resume is one of the first steps. And if that is daunting to you, come on in and we can help you with it. There's even some sample resumes. I put that in the chat. And I want to show you guys, because there was that question earlier about, oh, I don't have any experience. What can I do next? If you click on resume samples by major, and these are all sample resumes of students, and environmental studies I know is on here. Let's see. Oops. Here it is. So this just gives you a template of what a strong resume can look like. And you can see here, some of the things that this person has done is not only do they start their resume with their degree, since it's very clearly environmental studies, They've added related coursework that proves that they know about some basic things, concepts like environmental impact. And then, as I mentioned earlier, this person did a project with the Environmental Resource Center on campus. This was unpaid. And they worked with a career counselor to create bullets that really show what kind of skills they learned doing that project, and demonstrated they really understand the campus waste life cycle process, and they're dedicated to getting students involved. So
can I chime in real quick?
Yeah, go for it, please.
So a question that kept coming up during the panel was about experience. And I have another student who I'm working with who put all of her job experience on her resume because, she didn't think she had any relatable job experience. And so from looking at the one that you have up, if all of their, experience was working at like coffee shops or things that were not related at all, would you say that you could just kind of expand on that project experience? Like you don't have to have anything on your resume, or you can really play up to your skills. And so I just wanted to hit on that if you have just coursework, then you can put your related coursework and then put projects that you did in those classes and how they could potentially relate to what you want to do.
Thank you, Kristen. That's exactly right. And I'll just point out that this person, although they had worked for a couple years during college, they had done office work, which is very valuable transferable skills, but they were trying to break into environmental studies jobs. And that is why they put their project experience above their work experience. Maybe different if you have a fantastic environmental studies related job. You might want to flip those, but there's all different techniques that we can teach you to bring more visibility and really kind of show your dedication to the field.
Yeah, and good point. Like, there's no template for a resume being, no one is correct. And so if you have things that are of higher value to you that you want to show off, definitely put those up top. For example, if you had skills that, you learned anywhere at home on YouTube, that could be applicable, put that up top because that's going to catch their attention quicker.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned, maybe you've gotten involved in volunteering while you've been on campus. So it's great to have a activities or a leadership section, even if it just says you were a member of the Environmental Studies Club. That shows your dedication to the industry. And you can see here, this person was actually the pledge treasurer, and that demonstrates leadership, which is really impressive to recruiters. So I would actually recommend that this person work with me, and we would create a couple bullets to highlight what they accomplished in their treasurer role. And then we would actually move this experience up into the project section. So that would be another tip.
Yeah, great example.
So that's it. If you have any questions, if you have any questions, definitely let me know. I'll put my email address in the chat. You can make appointments with us on Spartan Connect. And it's just been a pleasure listening today. Thank you for letting me be here. And if you need any assistance figuring out your skills, exploring careers, we can help you with all that. So please make an appointment with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kristen. Before we wrap up, does anyone have any questions for her? No. Okay, well, thank you all so much for joining us today for the panel and for this session on the Career Center and how they can be of help to you. And yeah, have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.